Coming home. Dowd. Beloved. 9. Shepherd. Leader of the flock. If not for the realization that we are approaching our review of Dowd's 23rd Psalm, a poem of sublime brilliance, it would be asking more than I could muster to move past the haunting and heroic echoes of the 22nd and 116th Mizmor songs. This is especially so since the Messiah's resounding confession has been muted by deaf and blind adherents of Christianity, Judaism, and Islam. The greatest sacrifice and the most enabling act have been squandered, even when powerfully presented 1,000 years in advance of their fulfillment. And it is by ignoring and misappropriating what Dowd has written that Judaism and Christianity were popularized, condemning them. While my heart is still palpitating and my head reeling over the disclosure of Dowd's motivation for facilitating his people's salvation, the revelations I found the most compelling in these volumes of Coming Home provide a nurturing and uplifting parallel to the ordeal of Chag Matzah. By fulfilling Passover as the Lamb, Yahuwah's beloved shepherd was reenacting what the children of Yisrael had experienced, and the door to life was opened on Pesach at the end of an anguishing ordeal in Mitzrayim. Then they would leave the world of politics and religion on Matzah, passing through the desolation of the wilderness prior to being reborn into a life with Yahuwah on Bikurim, bursting out of the sea. Moving forward to our day, a remnant of Yehudim will soon recognize that their Messiah opened heaven's door for them to come home. At the outset of the time of Jacob's troubles, they will be more receptive to Yahuwah's place in their lives and to the upcoming Shabuah harvest of standing grain on May 22, 2026. But even for those who forego this opportunity to be withdrawn from the earth and enter heaven, there will still be 2 additional opportunities to come clean. There will be the Teruah gleaning, just 10 days in advance of our Messiah and King's return on Kippurim. And on trumpets, there will be yet another sacrifice such that the surviving mortal remnant of Yisrael is prepared for the great reset and a return to when the children of Yisrael last heard Yahuwah speak directly to them. And those who capitalize on it will enter their new life as Yah's chosen people as we camp out together during Sukkah with our beloved shepherd. Dowd endured the torments depicted in Mizmor 22, 88, and 116 so that we might revel in the blessings of the 23rd Psalm. In these words, we find the Passover lamb looking up to his shepherd. A Mizmor of Dowd, Mizmor la Dowd, a song, with lyrics accompanied by music composed by the beloved. YAHOWAH, YAHOWAH, an accurate transliteration of the name of Eloah God guided by his Torah instructions regarding his higher existence and our shalom reconciliation, is my shepherd, Arayah is the one who leads me, cares for me, protects me, and nurtures me. Mizmor/song/Psalm 23 verse 1 in part. It is a Mizmor composed by Dowd, which he sang to Yahuwah. Especially noteworthy, within it, we find the juxtaposition of Dowd and Yahuwah, almost as if the son were accepting his father's name, Dowd Yahuwah. I rather like the idea, as is evident by Yada Yahowah. And should anyone think this is presumptuous, they have missed the point. Dowd served as Yahuwah's lamb to make this possible. So, we are actually being dismissive and disrespectful when we reject what he has so generously offered. Yahuwah refers to Dowd as a shepherd and Dowd calls God his shepherd. In both cases, it is more indicative of a mindset than a profession. Dowd's experience with ruminants could not have been much beyond a couple of years, from 5 or 6 to 8 years of age. And while Yahuwah invented sheep and led his flock into the promised land, we are not going to find shepherd on his resume. That notwithstanding, God is desirous of living with his flock, taking long walks with his sheep, caring for and leading the most congenial animals while protecting and nurturing them. Being a shepherd also reveals something God must desire in us. Sheep are naturally gregarious with social instincts which cause them to bond with other members of their flock over their lifetimes. They build enduring friendships and stick up for one another. They are non-violent animals who not only prefer smiles to frowns, emotionally, they can be stressed by separation from the flock. Remarkably intelligent, they listen and possess problem-solving skills. They use this ability to gain the attention of their shepherd, whom they generally respect and esteem, when a member of the flock is in trouble. They are typically playful and joyful. Sheep have impressive memories and are constantly observing and learning. They identify with their names and respond to them. They come when called. Sheep are remarkably open to being led, indeed, preferring it. While each flock will choose a dominant ram to protect them, sheep are otherwise averse to social hierarchies. Their only defense from attack is to flee, fulfilling the first requirement of forming a relationship with Yah. Intelligent, complex, and sociable, even adorable, sheep reflect the best of human nature while not reflecting the violent, deceitful, or destructive characteristics of humans operating collectively as if they were in a flock. Although, to be fair, sheep have a tendency to stray, a predisposition common among Hebrews. So, it is Yahuwah's and Dowd's calling, as our shepherds, to bring their people back into the fold. Having chosen to follow the lead of the most reliable and loving shepherd, Dowd realizes. I will not be deprived, lo, chaser, I will not be negated, I will not recede or be decreased, I will not be reduced in status, I will not be found inadequate, never lacking, cal imperfect. Mizmor/song/Psalm 23 verse 1. This statement is a direct affront to replacement philology and, thus, to the mythology of the world's most popular religion. With the faith's very existence predicated upon transferring the promises Yahuwah made to Dowd to the myth of Jesus Christ, and from Dowd's flock, Yisrael, to Gentile Christians, the actual Messiah and Son of God declares otherwise. He will not be deprived of his status or position with God. He will not be negated. It isn't in our interest or God's to do so. If only the world recognized that this beloved psalm actually serves to redirect our attention back to Dowd, to Yahuwah's shepherd, what a difference it would make in our lives. If only Yisrael would listen to HaMashiach calling their name, calling them home, they wouldn't be acting more like goats than sheep. Understanding that Dowd wanted to serve as the shepherd's lamb, there is another insight which can be deduced from the negation of chaser. Dowd knew that Yahuwah would not deny him this opportunity to save his flock and garner their respect. His arguments were sound, and God recognized that he was right. Moreover, as Yahowah's most courageous defender, the Messiah knew that chaser would not be found inadequate even though the challenge would be formidable. In this light, the Lamb knew that the sacrifice he would be making would be rewarded. He enables me to relax and stretch out, robots any, he makes it possible for me to lie down, reposed forevermore, highful and perfect, within a flourishing and expansive, verdant and vibrant, within a green and grassy, lush and befitting, even opulent, from dasha, to create a sprout or shoot which comes forth and flourishes, encouraging new growth, beautiful dwelling, garden encampment, and befitting homeland, an open pasture, gorgeous settlement, and gorgeous residence. A lovely abode surrounded by natural beauty, from a beautiful and befitting habitation. Mizmor/Song/Psalm 23 verse 2 in part. Robots addresses both aspects of Shemaim that Dowd finds appealing. After overcoming Shaul's animosity, uniting Yisrael, defeating her foes, establishing Yerushalayim, overcoming an internal insurrection, composing 100 Mizmor and Mashal, and then fulfilling Chag Matzah, he deserves the opportunity to rest and relax, reflecting upon a life well lived. And this suggests, as we have read previously, that the king, as a wise leader, will delegate some of his responsibilities. However, since he was never one to sit around and watch life pass him by, Dowd will stretch out and explore the marvels of the universe along with his extended family. Since the Hebrew word for green is yerok, not desh, we ought to consider why one term was chosen over the other. Desh speaks of abundant and vibrant growth, which is what Yahowah is offering to and desires from his children. The desh will flourish within the expansive and vibrant, opulent and befitting realm Yahowah has prepared for his flock. And speaking of this expansive realm, describes everything from a befitting homeland to a gorgeous settlement, a beautiful dwelling to a garden encampment. If a befitting homeland, he has returned to Yisrael. If a gorgeous settlement, he is back in Yerushalayim. If a beautiful dwelling, he is home. And if a garden encampment, he is celebrating Sukkah in the Gan Eden. His lovely abode surrounded by natural beauty could also be an open pasture in keeping with the picture painted by the psalm. He continually leads me, he guides me, directing me so that I can follow, sustained and taken care of, escorting me, peel imperfect, beside, near, over, and before, spiritually restorative, Menucha, a place of repose and reflection, of rejuvenation and satisfaction, from to ponder the implications of Nuach, being settled spiritually, waters, Maim. Mizmor/Song/Psalm 23 verse 2. Our shepherd and Yahowah's lamb has always been guided by his father, who not only provides direction, but he has also escorted his son along the way. Before our king could lead us, he would first follow Yah. And in this regard, Nahal is reflective of the Torah's guidance, direction, and leadership. It did for Dowd what it does for the rest of the flock. When seeking to appreciate where Yahowah was accompanying his son, we would be wise to consider the root composition of Menucha. Beginning with we learn that we should ponder the implications of what follows. And that is the feminization, suffix, of Nuach being settled and restored spiritually. With Ruach serving as the Hebrew designation for spirit, Nuach is differentiated only by the substitution of a nun, which is indicative of a son, as an heir, taking root and growing in. And from this perspective, this pronouncement foretells of a time when the Ruach spirit would bring Dowd's Nepesh soul back home during Bikurim firstborn children after fulfilling Pesach and Matzah. Those who allow her to do the same, who follow mother and son home, are reborn, passing through the waters symbolic of childbirth. Affirming this, water is essential to cleansing, growth, rejuvenation, and life. He restores and returns, Shub, he renews and brings back, Polel Peel imperfect, my soul, Nepesh Eni, my consciousness, my persona, the totality of my life, my memories and experiences, my thoughts and desires, my attributes and attitudes. Mizmor/Song/Psalm 23 verse 3 in part. The primary meaning of Shub is to return. This is important because, in conjunction with Dowd's soul, it speaks of him returning to Shemaim heaven after enduring matzah unyeasted bread in Sheol hell. So, when Dowd's Nepesh consciousness celebrates Bikurim firstborn children en route, the father and son relationship is Shub restored. Also interesting, the Polel Peel imperfect is deployed to shape Shub's intent in Jeremiah 50 verse 19. There we read this in Yahowah's voice, I shall return to restore Yisrael to his pasture. With the mention of Nepesh soul, we find ourselves transported back in time to the most important 3 days in universal history. And in the process, we are introduced to the mechanism Yahowah used to facilitate the fulfillment of Pesach and Matzah leading to Bikurim. God dispatched Dowd's Nepesh from heaven and into spacetime in the material realm, doing so in advance of him fulfilling Chag Matzah during the Yabel year of 4000 Yah. With the Messiah's soul placed within a corporeal body, one that could be used and discarded as the Pesach isle, Dowd's Nepesh could see, hear, feel, and experience it all. Once the body in which his soul had been placed, representing the Lamb, was sacrificed, breathing its last, Dowd's Nepesh soul was escorted to Sheol hell on Matzah, burdened with the guilt of every covenant member. His soul was released on Bikurim, returning to the Father and restored to the spiritual realm. This is one of the reasons that Dowd was never referred to as Dowd ben Ishai David, son of Jesse. He was destined to become Dowd ben Yahowah on Bikurim. He chooses to guide me, Nacha, Eni, he wants to direct my path because his will is for him to give me this opportunity for a favorable outcome predicated upon trust, Haifel imperfect Joseph, in the proper and correct way of life, Ba Magal Tzadak, by teaching me, providing the right directions to be just, fair, honorable, and vindicated, even steadfast such that the path of life comes full circle, appropriately returning to where it began, for his name's sake, Laman Shemhu, on behalf of his personal and proper designation so as to facilitate a response. Mizmor/Song/Psalm 23 verse 3. Nacha was scribed in the Joseph mood because Yahowah wants to guide his children as we walk through life. By doing so with Dowd, his son could do the same for us. The word which best defines Yahuwah as shepherd is tzadak, right and vindicating. More than anything, Dowd's perceptions of God have always been correct, which is why he was qualified to serve as the Passover lamb. And speaking of being right, how can it be wrong to write and proclaim Yahuwah's name when Dowd did so prolifically? This is a song whose lyrics were scribed so that we might sing along. And it was written on behalf of Yahuwah's personal and proper designation. Magal is an interesting term because it suggests that we will encounter some ruts in the path of life, some deeply embedded and well-worn. Dowd did, and he had to overcome them, as is the case with the rest of us. As a compound of ma, to question, and agal, to revolve, Magal encourages us to consider what it means to come full circle and end up where our lives with Yahuwah began. It is a subtle way of reminding us that the covenant's children are headed back to the conditions experienced in the Garden of Eden once the earth is restored. When we are right with God, we have nothing to fear. We can be as blunt and bold as Yah's shepherd and Messiah. A relationship with Yahuwah breeds confidence, even courage, enabling Dowd to travel through death and darkness so that we might live. Even though, Gam Ky, indeed in actuality, I walk, Halak, I travel and journey, Kal imperfect, through the valley, Ba gay, in the depression, of foreboding darkness and deep shadows, Samoeth, of ominous gloom and danger, even with the potential of death, of lesser dimensions, I will not be afraid of, lo, Yar, I will not respect or dread, Kal imperfect, evil, our countrymen who are displeasing and wrong, miserable and injurious loudmouthed citizens, harmful and troublesome. Fellows, adversarial and inferior neighbors, improper or immoral kin. For indeed, you, Ky Ada, are with me, Imad Eni, are associated with me, in a relationship with me, in my presence and company, striving beside me. Mizmor/Song/Psalm 23 verse 4 in part. While I've survived 3 near-death experiences, I don't think that such a thing is germane to Dowd's statement. But something else I've done may qualify because I have walked through the great depression of darkness and death in another way, enduring it for a considerable time. In the years before I began translating and sharing Yahuwah's words, I was tasked with the most disgusting and foreboding, indeed, deadly job on earth, exposing and condemning Islam in Prophet of Doom, now the 5 volumes of God-damn religion. Muhammad was, by his own admission, demon-possessed, and as such, he modeled Allah after Satan. The Quran is the most anti-Semitic and hellish tome ever written. To read it is to walk through the valley of darkness and death, through the shadows of someone bastardizing the truth to demonize Jews and justify his war against all mankind. And yet, I never cowered. I was never afraid because Yahuwah was with me every step of the way. And my courage came from one of Dowd's Mizmor, the 91. St. Psalm, which God placed in my pocket the day our lives coalesced as one. I would venture into the darkness to expose the shadows of death while holding Yah's light to pierce the darkness twice more. The second journey was originally documented in Questioning Paul, which has now become Twistianity. In these 5 volumes, I have decimated the credibility of Paul's letters, the New Testament, and the myths and counterfeits which underlie Christianity. My third, and hopefully last, sojourn into hell was portrayed in the series known as Babel, where I ventured into Babylon to expose Satan's agenda and, in the process, excoriated Judaism. While any walk through Samoeth is depressing due to mankind's propensity to besmirch God's character, the experience is always brightened and emboldened by Yah's constant encouragement and even his appreciation. And as a parallel thought, Dowd would have traveled through the shadowy depression of lesser dimensions as he entered Sheol, making this prophetic. It is worth noting because it was likely intended, for indeed, you are with me, is embedded in the heart of the 23rd Mizmor/Psalm. This statement was preceded by 26 Hebrew words and 26 follow it. Before it, Dowd speaks of Yahuwah in third person, he. After it, he transitions to speaking to Yahuwah directly, referring to God as you. This is the core of the message, the heart of the song, and central to why we exist. Shabat is equally comfortable conveying scepter as it is people, just as Mishinach can be a staff or a stem. Your scepter, your people, Shabat Ada, your symbols of leadership and nation, and your staff, Wa Mishinach Ada, your personalized and sturdy walking stick, an applicable stem of the ideal length and girth to guide the flock and support the walk. They comfort me while changing minds regarding me. Hem Nakam Eni, they can change the minds of those open to relenting, to encourage me. Mizmor/Song/Psalm 23 verse 4. If asked to choose whether Dowd was comforted by his love for Yah's flock or by this symbol of authority, it's an easy call, one most have missed. Appreciating why is the reason we consider the nature of sheep. While Yahuwah's shepherd staff consoled Dowd, I am hopeful that he knew that his cause and rightful place would be upheld one day by a sturdy stick, an applicable stem of the proper length to guide his flock and support their walk in his absence, a choder, perhaps. And in this regard, Hem Nakam Eni may also reveal that minds would be changed regarding him. Dowd would have used a table as a place to read, to dine, and to display the things of God. It has been arranged and is waiting for him. You have prepared and arranged, Barak, you have already put in place and made ready, Kal imperfect, a table, Shulchan, that which can be extended and stretched out, from Shalak, to send away, before me, Lapana Eni, conspicuously beyond the presence of, Neged, openly in opposition to, my adversaries who would narrow my scope and silence me, Sarah Eni, of my enemies seeking to diminish me, those who are hostile toward me, opposing me, of those who would bind me up, confining and restricting me. Mizmor/Song/Psalm 23 verse 5 in part. Should this table be for Kippurim, Sukkah, or the final coronation of the king, it is well beyond the presence of those who have sought to diminish Dowd's relevance. While many have done so, negating what the Messiah represents is a poor life choice. Therefore, the table that has been prepared and made ready before the shepherd is one that would serve to denounce those who sought to diminish the Messiah by counterfeiting and replacing him. If so, it might be the one upon which my keyboard and monitor are arranged to share his lives and lyrics with you. Also revealing, Dowd's enemies are Yisrael's foes because Tserah provides the basis for the time of Yaakov's Tserah troubles. And fortunately for those who survive them, Dowd's table will be awaiting their reunion. The following use of dashan helps confirm that our concerns regarding the way it was translated in English Bibles in their presentations of Psalm 22 verse 26 were well-founded. It was used by the author of both to convey anointing. You have anointed, dashan, you have covered, rubbing upon and preparing, my head, roshne, with oil, ba-hashimen, olive oil serving as a metaphor for the set-apart spirit. Mizmor/song/Psalm 23 verse 5 continues. With Yah, physical examples typically convey greater spiritual realities. In this case, being anointed with olive oil was symbolic of the Spirit being placed upon Dowd when he was chosen by God to lead his flock. And while Yisrael's Messiah and King was anointed on 3 occasions at Yahuwah's behest, what God did for his son is what he intends to do for the rest of his children. My cup, cows, any, that which holds me together, overflows with abundance, Rawaya, with the help and aid of Yah it is saturated and satisfying. Mizmor/song/Psalm 23 verse 5. Dowd lived a rich and fulfilling life, and yet his first life was just beginning. When we do as he has done, and prioritize our relationship with Yahuwah, our cup will overflow with an abundance of life's greatest blessings. It is what our Father desires for his children. Also telling, in the 116th Mizmor, Dowd used cow's cup to reveal that he would serve as our Savior. So perhaps the abundance he is alluding to in this pronouncement reflects the benefits of the covenant, including eternal life. The beloved Son of God experienced this in anticipation of sharing the bounty with us. Surely, indeed exclusively and without any doubt, goodness and generosity, Towrah, pleasing and beneficial things, that which is prosperous, honorable, joyful, festive, beautiful, agreeable, and healing, and unfailing love and enduring kindness, wachesed, devotion, mercy, and favor, will pursue me, radaf will chase after me and be focused on me, kal perfect, all the days, kol yaumim, every moment, of my lives, of my continued existences, my restoration and renewal. Mizmor/song/Psalm 23 verse 6 in part. We have God's guarantee, his promise, that good and beneficial things, unfailing love and enduring mercy will come our way, enriching our lives now and forevermore. I am a living example. With a keen intellect, a passion for working with people, and a desire to create value, I tried mightily to succeed, only to flounder and fail, that is, until these attributes were directed at a higher calling. And I suspect that this is true of every child of the covenant. You may find it interesting that radaf is not just about following, but is more assertively about being pursued and chased after. Yahuwah is passionately dispensing everything that is pleasing and beneficial, including his love, so that they find us and pursue us throughout our time together. While it is not uncommon for lives to be plural in Hebrew, it is exceedingly important here. Dowd would experience 3 of them, one as king of Yisrael, the second as the Passover lamb, and the third as God's counterpart and sovereign of the universe. We have come to realize, based upon the prophets and psalms, that it is Dowd who has served to open heaven's door and that he is returning to restore the family members who were intended to live inside. The only question for us is whether God's Son wrote Shub to return and restore or Yashab to dwell and remain in his concluding statement. The text reads WSHB tie, in the MT and DSS, with the W prefix and tie suffixes conveying the perfect conjugation, cal stem, and first person singular, respectively. Either way, with Yashab or Shub, 2 letters are present, the SH and B, and a letter is missing, either the Y or W. The wording found in the Dead Sea Scrolls and Masoretic text supports either conclusion, with Dowd stating that he will, Shub, return to restore, or Yashab, dwell and remain, within the family and home of Yahuwah for an unlimited duration. However, since the perfect conjugation is limited in time, it works with Shub but does not with Yashab. Dowd's return to Yahuwah's home in Jerusalem 2,000 years ago to provide the covenant's benefits was constrained to 3 or 4 years, while his life as part of God's family will be everlasting. In this case, both interpretations are accurate in that Dowd is returning to restore Yisrael and Yehudah, bringing Yahuwah's people back to Yahuwah, and as a result, he and his flock will reside in God's home forevermore. And yet, not only does the perfect favor Shub, the realization that it conveys that Dowd will be gathering them from the many places they currently reside into one, Yisrael, is likely relevant. Moreover, it is common for the W to be omitted and implied in Hebrew, with countless words such as Elohim reflecting this realization. As a result, I see Shub as acknowledging Dowd's return in the waning days of year 6000 Yah, the fall of 2033, and descriptive of his role in bringing God's people home where he and they will remain as part of Yah's family forever. And I will literally return at a moment in time, being brought back to restore, Shub, I will actually reappear at a homecoming, and for a limited time gather them together from many places where they currently reside into one, cal perfect, denoting a literal interpretation and actual relationship of a completed action which is confined in time, the family within the home, Baith, in the household, of Yahuwah, Yahuwah, in the proper pronunciation of the name of Eloah, God as directed in his Torah, teaching regarding his higher existence and our shalom, restoration, forever, la, orek yamim, for an unlimited length of days. Mizmor/song/Psalm 23 verse 6. The greatest story ever told ends happily ever after. And yet, long before that would occur, Dowd would be brought back to restore the family of God. This is an ode to the fulfillment of Pesach and Matzah leading to Bikurim and then concluding with Shabuah and Teruah enabling the homecoming on Kippurim. Dowd's portrayal of his lives was so brilliantly written, it's worth another look. A Mizmor of Dowd, Mizmor la Dowd. Yahuwah, is my shepherd, Eni. I will not be deprived, lo, chaser. Mizmor 23:1. He enables me to relax and continually stretch out, robots any, within a flourishing and expansive, verdant and vibrant, opulent and becoming, beautiful dwelling, garden encampment, and befitting homeland, a lovely abode surrounded by natural beauty, Nah. He continually leads me, guiding and directing me, often escorting me, Nahal, any, beside, al, spiritually restorative, Manucha, waters, Maim. Mizmor 23:2. He restores and returns, Shub, my soul, Nipesh any. He chooses to guide me, directing my path, Nacha, any, in the proper and correct way of life, even through the ruts, so that our path appropriately returns to where life began, Ba Magal Tzadak, for his name's sake, Laman Shemhu. Mizmor 23:3. Even though, Gam Ky, I walk, Halak, through the valley, Ba Gay, of foreboding darkness and deep shadows in lesser dimensions, Samoeth, I will not dread, lo, Yar, evil, Ra. For indeed, you, Ky Ada, are with me, Emad any. Your scepter and your people, Shebet Ada, your staff and applicable stem, Wamishinak Ada, they comfort me while changing minds regarding me, Hem Nakam any. Mizmor 23:4. You have prepared and arranged, putting in place, Barak, a table, Shulchan, before me, Lapana any, conspicuously beyond the presence, Negd, of my adversaries who would narrow my scope and silence me, Sarah any. You have anointed, Dashan, my head, Rosh any, with oil, Ba Hashimen. My cup, cows any, overflows with abundance, Rawaya. Mizmor 23:5. Surely, AK, goodness and generosity, Taub, unfailing love and enduring kindness, Wachisad, will pursue me, Radaf any, all the days, Kol Yaumim, of my lives, Che any. And I will literally return at a moment in time, being brought back to restore, Washub, the family within the home, Ba Baith, of Yahowah, Ba Yahowah, forevermore, La Orek Yamim. Mizmor/Song/Psalm 23 verse 6. Yada Yahowah. There are so many exciting places to explore and to pursue the unabashed truth about Dowd, it's hard to know where we should journey next. If the lyrics of the 31st Mizmor/song were not so much like the 28th, 29th, and 30th Psalms, presenting Dowd's role in fulfilling Pesach, Matzah, and Bikurim, we might jump ahead and begin the process of reinterpreting some of the most amazing prophecies pertaining to the Messiah. In due time, based upon what we have uncovered in the Mizmor, we must, and will, re-explore Yashaya 9, 35, 40, 42, 52, 53, and 61, Daniel 9 and 2 Shamuel 7, Dabram 18, and Zechariah 9, 11, and 12 in addition to Malachi 3 and Mizmor 40 and 88. There is so much said about Dowd, it would take a lifetime to absorb it all. Also, being pragmatic, since they present the primary rabbinical rebuttal to the fulfillment of Pesach and Matzah with a man's body and soul, we'll also revisit Mizmor 49 and Dabram 24. After all, the recognition that Dowd volunteered for this assignment and benefited from the greatest gift ever given deserves our contemplation. But for now, it's on to the 31st Mizmor song. Through it, Dowd spoke of his relationship with Yahowah. To the enduring leader, the eternal director, Lahanatsak, to the glorious conductor, a Mizmor song, Mizmor, lyrics set to music, of Dowd, La Dowd, of the beloved. With you, Ba, Ada, Yahowah, Yahowah, I have taken refuge and found a trusted and safe place, Chasa, I have been comforted and sheltered, Cal perfect. I do not want to fail, be humiliated, or be frustrated, Al Bausch, I have no interest in being embarrassed or feeling remorse, Cal imperfect cohortative, throughout eternity, La, Alam. With your means to vindicate those who are right about you, Ba Tzedakah Ada, in your righteous judgment and adherence to your correct and acquitting standard, you want to rescue and deliver me, giving new birth and saving through me, Palat any, your desire was to help me survive and liberate others, Peel imperative second person masculine singular. Mizmor/lyrics to be sung/Psalm 31 verse 1. Having devoted the time to study the Torah, Dowd came to know and respect Yahowah. He found God to be trustworthy and his plans for our lives to be compelling. So Dowd engaged, doing what he knew Yahowah wanted to achieve. This would include defending his people and guiding them by sharing what he had learned. But there would be more because Dowd realized that coming to understand and then share what Yah is offering and asking in return would be the most rewarding and beneficial way to invest his life. And as he ventured into the roles of a prophet and a leader of men, he wanted to minimize his mistakes. With Yahowah having chosen him, he didn't want to let God down and embarrass himself. And then there was the issue of serving as the lamb and entering hell on Passover and unyeasted bread. Dowd knew that should he perform as promised, his service to Yahowah would open heaven's door. Therefore, after affirming his confidence in Yahowah to protect him throughout the ordeal, and confiding that he does not want to mess up due to the implications on eternity, Dowd reaffirms what the world needs to hear. The Messiah was right about God, and he realized that Yahowah's criterion for vindication for everyone else was also contingent upon being correct regarding him. And so Dowd is seen reaffirming that Yahowah will deliver him and then deliver salvation through him. While we cannot fill Dowd's sandals, and should not try, there are aspects of this we can apply to our lives, which is why he shared his thoughts with us. We can and should proclaim Yahowah's name and trust him to protect and then vindicate us as promised. And as we rely upon God's commitment to save us, we can strive to spare others. And all the while, as we work to make our lives matter, after stating that we want to succeed and not fail so as not to disappoint God, we can claim victory because the result has been written. I know this feeling all too well. The more prophetic references I found pertaining to the mission of reintroducing Yahowah's name, reacquainting Yisrael with their Messiah, and explaining and fulfilling the Berith and Mikra, particularly Shabuah and Teruah on behalf of Kippurim, the more devoted I became to the cause. I could not fathom letting God down and then having to face him, knowing that I had stumbled and fallen. And while this concern over the eternal shame of disappointing Yah drove me to succeed for him, as it did for my king, after reading the end of the story, I know, as did Dowd, that our success is assured. With this realization, the motivation is no longer a concern over disappointing but, instead, a desire to exceed expectations. But there is more to this story because the central character and exemplar did stumble and fall. He made some serious blunders in his first life, and he wanted to make amends. The best way for him to accomplish this, and for the result to endure throughout eternity, was to devote himself to pursuing Yahuwah as means to vindicate his people. Therefore, the Messiah volunteered to have his body and soul serve in the fulfillment of Pesach and Matzah. He would not only make amends, but he would also earn the eternal respect and gratitude of every covenant member forevermore. Having listened to his son's plan, Yahuwah was quick to concur. It was the most sensible solution. The resulting ordeal would be over as quickly as permissible, with God engineering a prompt rescue. And by contrast to the pain, the benefits for the family would be ongoing throughout eternity. You have chosen to incline your ear to me, Nada, El, Eni Ozen Ada. As quickly as possible and without hesitation, Mahira, in the briefest extent of time permissible, your will is to aid my escape, delivering me to save, Natsal, Eni, your desire was to rescue me, snatching me out of harm's way to deliver salvation, hyphal imperative second person masculine singular. Your desire is for there to be for me, Hayallah Eni, you have chosen for there to exist for me, Cal imperative second person masculine singular, a sharp crag, Latsur, a prominent and firm stone, with a sound and resounding defense and fortification to prevail, Ma'aus, a safe harbor and stronghold to firmly establish, for the family, La Baith, for the home and household, to liberate and deliver me La Yasha Eni, to spare me, hyphal infinitive, from being preyed upon, victimized, and restricted, Matsuda, being trapped and ensnared. Mizmor/Song/Psalm 31 verse 2. Our Heavenly Father listened to his Son on this occasion because they would be working together to deliver the benefits of the Berith covenant through the micro-EY invitations to be called out and meet. Theirs would be the most productive and beneficial collaborative effort among God's interactions with man. Working together, they would save us from ourselves. But there was a problem, one that God and Prophet immediately saw as an impediment to their success. They would fulfill Pesach, Matzah, and Bikurim, but their contributions to our lives would be denied rather than acknowledged. So, for this, they proposed a solution. A sharp crag, known today through the English spelling of the Celtic name, Craig, would be deployed to defend what Dowd would achieve so that the family of Yah would prevail. After 2 millennia of religious malfeasance, preying upon and victimizing the Messiah and Son of God, robbing him of his accolades and accomplishments, a herald would be appointed to defend his acclaim. In the 35 books composed under the title, Yahuwah, I have delivered as promised. The truth is knowable and readily available. Just as there was at the time a monumental difference between the capabilities and contributions of Dowd versus Yahuwah, that did not matter because they were working together. Nor does it matter now, even though there is a substantial difference between fulfilling the micro-EY on behalf of the Berith and explaining who did so, why, when, where, and how they accomplished their objectives. I'm just a cowl voice, a Basar herald, and a Nakar observant foreigner, who as Yada one who knows is serving as the final Zeroah, one cultivating the harvest as an restoring witness. Said another way, all I'm doing is reporting on what they have done. And I'm doing it with Yahuwah's full support, all 7 spirits, amplifying our collective effectiveness and assuring our success. Should you wonder why this Sela, sharp crag would be named by God's Son in the story of the salvation of Yahuwah's people, when he is the man from Edom and thus not a Yisraelite, the answer should be obvious. To prevail, Dowd's work with Yahuwah required defending, which is why they said so. Without the Yahuwah series, no one would have known what father and son accomplished on Pesach, Matzah, and Bikurim in year 4000 Yah. They wouldn't have known that Yahuwah is God's name, that it matters, or that Dowd is the Messiah, Son of God, Passover Lamb, and returning King. They would not have realized the timing or purpose of the Shabuah or Towrah ingatherings, the timing or purpose of the red heifer and redemption of the adulterous woman, or the timing and purpose of Kippurim when Dowd arrives with Yahuwah for the family reunion. And since these things went unknown and unheralded for the previous 2000 years, that condition would not have changed. Universal ignorance would have negated the fulfillment, purpose, and benefit of most everything, from the prior fulfillment of Pesach, Matzah, and Bikurim to the upcoming fulfillments of Shabuah, Towrah, Kippurim, and Sukkah. Without the herald, there would have been no attendees. It would have all been for naught. The creator is greater than the doer, and the doer greater than the teller, but without all three, there is no benefit. Surely, KY, certainly, my rocky crag, Sela Eni, my elevated and firm boulder, will be my deliverance from being preyed upon and controlled, Wa Matsuda Eni, my defense against being victimized and restricted. You, Ada, on account of, Laman, because of and for the sake of, your name, Shem, Ada, your personal and proper designation, lead me, transporting me to create this opportunity for me, Nacha Eni, you consistently direct me toward a favorable outcome with me relying on you for guidance and you trusting me, hyphal imperfect Joseph second person masculine singular. And so, you guide and sustain me, Wa Nahal Eni, you bring me along and take care of me along the way, Peel imperfect. Mizmor/lyrics to be sung/Psalm 31 verse 3. Ultimately, while this decision was mutually beneficial for father, son, and family, for Dowd to endure it, Yahuwah would have to orchestrate and facilitate the proceedings. He would transport Dowd's Nepesh soul from Shemaim heaven to Eretz earth, and back to Yerushalayim, to serve as the Zeroah, Passover lamb. And then from Maria Moriah, the Ruach Kodesh set-apart spirit escorted Dowd's Nepesh from Yerushalayim Jerusalem to Sheol hell, where he remained during Matzah unyeasted bread. She would release him and guide him back home during Bikurim firstborn children. Including removing and depositing our guilt in Sheol, it would be the most heroic sacrifice and benevolent act ever undertaken by man, albeit with a significant assist from God. You extend yourself to withdraw me, Yatsa, Eni, you come to bring me out, Hyphal imperfect, out of the confining and capturing restraints, Min Rishe, from the snare, such as these which they have used to hide me by burying me, Zutaman La Eni, they have concealed to cover me over, Cal perfect third person masculine plural. As a result, KY, you are my refuge, protecting me from on high, Adamaos, Eni, you are my strength and safe harbor such that I am empowered and will prevail. Mizmor/lyrics to be sung Psalm 31 verse 4. By using Yatsa, Dowd has established a connection between the presentation of the spring Mikri Y, Pesach, Matzah, and Bikurim, during the Yatsa, Exodus, and his fulfillment of them 1,480 years later. On both occasions, the result was to extend the lives of God's children, to remove them from the stench of religious and political oppression, and to make it possible for them to come home and live with Yahuwah. The most pervasive human means of entanglement and restraint is religion, which is why it is equated to detention in Shiao. And speaking of religion, the most popular and deadly of them, Christianity, would have the faithful believe that Dowd is dead, was buried, and is rotting away in his grave. It is only in this way that Peter and Paul could rob Dowd of his lives, of his titles, and of his achievements to create the crude counterfeit now called Jesus. By burying Dowd, and then misrepresenting every prophetic pronouncement Yahuwah made regarding his son, the ultimate impostor was born. Sure, it required calling God a liar beset with senility, but since Yahuwah hates religion, what would it matter to them? They had a replacement God and a new Messiah. This may be the only place where someone speaks of a Ruach spirit being any mine. The reason is that Dowd was so familiar with the influence of the Ruach Kodesh set-apart spirit that Yahuwah placed within him at the time of his first anointing at 8 years of age, she was perceived as his, as an integral part of his nature. With your hand, influence, and support, Yad, Ada, through your power, control, and authority, I pay attention to and summon, Pakad, I muster and value, taking into account the leadership role of, Hyphal imperfect first person singular, my spirit, Ruach Eni. You have redeemed me, Pada, Eth, you have ransomed me, freeing and releasing me, Cal perfect second person masculine singular, Yahuwah, Yahowah, reliable and trustworthy God, El Emeth, dependable, honest, truthful, and enduring God. Mizmor/lyrics to be sung Psalm 31 verse 5. The set-apart spirit spoke to us through Dowd. She not only inspired his hand as he composed these songs, she guided his hand in battle as he defended Yisrael. And at the point of fulfilling Pesach and Matzah in year 4000 Yah, Dowd would have enjoyed Yahuwah's Ruach spirit as part of his life for over 1,000 years. So, after all this time, we can appreciate why he would refer to her as his own. And even here, he is still attributing her support to Yahuwah's influence. Moreover, having left him briefly in Shiao, Dowd is summoning her return, knowing that, after rescuing him, what they had accomplished would redeem Yisrael. Progressives, who hate everyone and everything that is in discord with their socialist agenda, have conditioned a generation to believe that hate must be eliminated. And yet, without knowing what, how, when, why, and who to hate, we lose the capacity to show compassion, demonstrate character, or be just. And just to be clear, progressives are hypocrites in this regard because they despise Jews, Israel, political conservatives, and anyone who prefers free speech to thought police, and evidence and reason to platitudes. I hate and shun, saying, I abhor, detest, and intensely dislike, such that I am openly hostile toward, Cal perfect, those who focus upon, Hashamar, futile and worthless, Shawa, false and fraudulent, objects of worship, Hebel, things which are a waste of breath. And as for me, concerning, Eni, El, Yahuwah, Yahowah, I trust and rely, Batach, I am confident and confide. Mizmor/lyrics to be sung Psalm 31 verse 6. There are many things deserving our disdain. Islam, where a rock was turned into a god, is one of them because the death cult not only curtails life, oppresses women, devalues education, and depresses economic progress, the religion is responsible for 95% of all terrorist acts worldwide. On the other side of that coin, Judaism has been the most debilitating and destructive influence among Jews over the past 20 centuries, precluding Yehudim from knowing their Messiah, Savior, and God. Without exposing and condemning them, there is no hope for those who have been misled. And, of course, let's not forget the plague of death that is Christianity, the religion predicated on replacement philology and crude counterfeits. Also with regard to Dowd's admission, the most useless object of religious worship, the Christian cross, can be trashed. It is not only demeaning and disrespectful to Yahuwah, it obfuscates his son's sacrifice. I want to rejoice, projecting a positive attitude, GYL, I have decided upon celebrating the favorable circumstances, choosing to sing for joy, Cal imperfect cohortative, and delight in, Wasamic BA, it is my desire to be elated with, Cal imperfect cohortative, your loyal love, enduring favoritism, and glorious benefits, Chisad Ada, your unfailing kindness, generosity, and devotion. To show the way to receive the benefits of the relationship, Asher, to depict the path to walk to get the most out of life, you revealed, Araya, you presented, showing, Cal perfect second person masculine singular, that which pertains to my suffering, my persecution and harassment, Oni Eni, my painful ordeal and aggravation, the great effort I made and pain I endured. You have been aware, intimately familiar with, and understood, and you have known, respected, and revealed through Yada Yahowah, you have acknowledged, Cal perfect second person masculine singular, the anguishing distress of the adversarial confinement, the anxiety and affliction of being besieged, as well as the incarceration, Sarah, the tribulation and adversity, the vexing oppression, of the besieging and internment, of my soul, Nipesh, of my consciousness, my ability to observe and respond to what is occurring around me, my personality and character. Mizmor/lyrics to be sung Psalm 31 verse 7. This is an important life lesson. Having the right attitude goes a long way. Here is a man who has volunteered to be flailed alive and then crucified by the beast of Rome to save his people, and he knows that he is going to hell to discharge their guilt, and yet, he is elated to have been given the opportunity to serve. He knows that his reputation will be stolen and trashed and, still, he is celebrating because he knows what he will do will prevail in the end. If you and I can do the same, standing up for what is right when all about us are wallowing in the mud, and trying to tear us, our God, his Son, and people, down, we will have earned our Yah's respect. In this way, the Almighty is like his Son. After hearing the children of Israel tell him to shut up, go away, and leave them alone, Yahowah is willing to make amends, giving his irascible and wonnery children yet another chance. Dowd's suffering on Pesach and Matzah was for us. He endured the pain, both physical on Passover and emotional during unyeasted bread, to show us the way to receive the benefits of the covenant relationship. But would you or anyone else have known this without Yada revealing it to you? Clearly, father and son were aware of the anguishing torment and adversarial confinement, and they shared this with us, but no one was listening. And until the world comes to appreciate the who, when, where, and why of the fulfillment of the YYV3C9, people are dead men walking, clueless and useless. Also relevant, Yahowah isn't all loving, but he is loyal to those he loves. And make no mistake, God plays favorites, as is his right. And among the souls who have passed this way, Dowd is overwhelmingly the most beloved. As it turns out, it is for good reason. Clearly and appropriately, Yahowah is proud of his son. He is delighted with what he has done. And this is among the reasons he revealed, presenting openly to us through him, the nature of his son's suffering during Chag Matzah. This not only gives a proud father the opportunity to delight in his son's achievements but, also, brings to our attention the means to eternal life, perfection, adoption, enrichment, and empowerment. Yahowah designed the universe in which we live, as well as the one where some will go, whether that be Shemaim or Sheol. He also conceived the means to determine to which of these destinations a soul is headed. Therefore, he is in a position to commiserate with his son, knowing exactly what he would endure. You had not closed me in or shut me up, isolating me for a prolonged period, Sagar any, you had not confined me on an ongoing basis, hyphal perfect second-person masculine singular, within the hand of an enemy, Yad Yahowah, into the influence or authority of the rancorous opposition and hostile adversary. In a spacious expanse, Ha-Merchab, you will have caused my feet to stand, Amad Regal any, you will authorize and sustain my stance, hyphal perfect. Mizmor/lyrics to be sung/Psalm 31 verse 8. This is technically accurate and instructive. Unlike every other soul condemned to Sheol, Dowd was not closed off or shut in for a prolonged period. His confinement and isolation would be limited to Matzah, which is why the verb, sagar, was rendered in the perfect conjugation. Once the mission was accomplished, he would return to the spacious expanse of the heavens, his stance authorized and sustained. And speaking of the approach Yahowah implemented, it was designed to show compassion and generosity. It was religion that mucked it all up. Your desire is to show compassion and be generous through me, Chan and any, you are inclined to treat me and mine favorably, Cal imperative, Yahowah, God's proper designation pronounced as instructed by his Torah, guidance on his Hayah, existence and his role in our Shalom, reconciliation as our Eloah, God, because it is certainly true, KY, he will have besieged and tried to confine me, Sarah law, any, he will distress, bound, and harass me as an adversarial enemy, Cal. Perfect third-person masculine singular. The visualization, ein, the eye, sight, and appearance, of my soul, nipesh any, my consciousness, providing me with the capacity to observe and respond, is being incapacitated, she, addressing Dowd's nipesh soul, is unable to function properly as a result of being weakened, Cal perfect third-person feminine singular, with the distressing taunts, annoying scorn, and angry provocations, chaos. In addition to my hollowed body and empty corpse, biten any. Mizmor/lyrics to be sung/Psalm 31 verse 9. Yahowah is Dowd's savior and the Messiah is our redeemer. And this is why Satan is averse to both. It is only by counterfeiting them and negating what they have achieved that he can destroy the souls of all believers. Dowd was besieged and confined while fulfilling Chag Matzah because of what his people had done to corrupt God's plan and mislead everyone. This is the guilt he carried with him and then deposited in Sheol. Doing so would be debilitating, incapacitating Dowd's soul in the process. He would pay a heavy toll to redeem us. Since our souls are designed to observe what is occurring around us, process that information, and then enable an appropriate response, Dowd wanted us to know that the ability of his soul to visualize what was transpiring around him, while incarcerated within the black hole, was degraded. In the absence of light, he could not see. Having been constrained, he could not move. When exposed to the angry provocations and annoying ad hominem cynicism of the religious, I'm disappointed for Dowd and Yahowah. They deserve better. But imagine having been designated King of Kings by God, and then choosing to pay the price to exonerate your people, only to have political and religious morons mock your sacrifice. Dowd would experience great sorrow toward the conclusions of 2 of his 3 lives. His last years as King of Yisrael were not pleasant, and there are few things as gruesome as what he endured during Pesach and Matzah. For indeed, KY, my lives, any, my lifetimes, grow weary, Kala, they have concluded, Cal perfect third-person plural, in sorrow, Yagown, in grief, and my years, Washana any, with emotional anguish, Anacha, in expressions of disapproval. They faltered due to stumbling and by having been overthrown, physically destroyed, and brought down, Cashel, they either fell short of expectation or were cast away and down in calamitous fashion, Cal perfect third-person masculine singular, with me being associated with the consequence of the guilt, A1 any, burdening me with the perversions of bending, twisting, and corrupting which caused me to endure the punishment. My strength, coach any, and my substance, etzem any, my essential essence, are debilitated and incapacitated, are dissipated and weakened, Cal perfect. Mizmor/lyrics to be sung/Psalm 31 verse 10. It is sad but true. Dowd would falter in his first life, becoming a stumbling block on occasion, which is partly why he signed up for this mission. And in his second appearance, he was physically beaten and then brought to hell. So, in both lives, cashel served as a telling term. Two of Dowd's blunders occurred late in the king's first of 3 lives. After his eldest son raped his daughter, his third-born, Absalom, killed his firstborn and led an insurrection against his father. Then, rather than rebuff the assault, Dowd fled and pined over his rebellious son's demise. For this, he lost the respect of his people. And Dowd, with 7 wives and 10 concubines, coveted a good man's wife. After sending him off to die in battle, his relationship with YAHOWAH suffered. And while there were several other less than noble episodes in the king's life, albeit tempered with many more that were exemplary, in the end, all that will be remembered are his triumphs. This known, it is important that we appreciate that Dowd was like the rest of us and like his people in many ways. So, we do not have to be perfect to be right with God or to be perfected by him. As I read between the lines with both Moses and Dowd, there is a common thread. After leading and defending Yisrael for 40 years, both men grew weary, Dowd at 70 to 71 and Moses at 120 years of age. It was to be expected considering how awful the Yisraelites behaved. So, this plays into Dowd's comments in this song. And while my mission is mostly at arm's length and of words rather than immersed in the fray, by the Shabat harvest, I will have invested 25 years of long days. Then, between my subsequent return and rather exceptional departure, I will have spent another 3 to 4 years in training and an equal number in the midst of the turmoil. I will be the same age as Dowd when my first life concludes and can attest that fatigue can, on occasion, be a challenge. But this is why we are provided with exemplars like Moses and Dowd, who were giants among men and yet not perfect, through whom we can learn and compare. And for all of us, better to have given all we have to offer than to apologize to God, knowing we could have done more. These things considered, since Dowd was enveloped within Yahuwah's ruach from the age of 8, God would mostly have seen his son as perfect, which would qualify his soul to serve as the lamb. That said, it would be appropriate for Dowd to take his own failings into Sheol with the rest of the covenant's guilt and leave them there. As a result of, all of my adversities and my conflicts, Colt Sarah any, the many who are in conflict with and distressed about what I represent, I have become, dishonored and devalued, Churfa, someone to be reviled. And this is especially so with my neighbors and countrymen, Wawa Shaken any Maodi, those who live nearby me even more so, because I'm particularly troubling and disconcerting, Wafachet, dreaded and perplexing, to those who are only partially acquainted with me, Yada any, to those passively familiar with me, Puel passive participle masculine plural. Those who view me, Raa any, in this public place, Ba chouts, cast me aside and wander away from me, Nadadmin any, they retreat, departing from me, Cal perfect third person masculine plural. Mizmor/lyrics to be sung/Psalm 31 verse 11. Considering that, in God's estimation, there is no better man than Dowd, then contemplating his extensive resume and body of literature, while adding to this the sacrifices he made to save the souls of his people, one would have to agree that the Messiah has been slighted, dishonored, and devalued by most everyone. And no party is as guilty as Yisrael. Had this not occurred, neither Christianity, Judaism, nor Islam would have existed. There would have been no Assyrian, Babylonian, Egyptian, Greek, Roman, Byzantine, or Muslim invasions, no diaspora, pogroms, or Holocaust. Even to this day, Dowd does not sit well with the Haredi, ultra-Orthodox religious Jews. He fought relentlessly and bravely to protect his people, and they crave exemptions from serving in the IDF. He loved Yahuwah's name, and they despise it. He cherished women, and they degrade them. He wrote inspired lyrics, and they read miserable texts. He lived in the moment and looked to the future, and they exist in the past. He was the Messiah, and they are looking for one. He was a man's man, and they are fond of playing with their curlicues. He was brilliant, and they live in an intellectual ghetto. He despised religion, and they adore it. To this, Dowd replies. My significance has been overlooked and forgotten, Shakach, I am ignored, pushed into the background, and inappropriately considered, as if one who is dead, Kamuth, who is no longer living. From this perspective and perception, Min Leb, from this consideration and determination, I am akin to a lost utensil or squandered implement that has perished and vanished, Hayaka Kali Abad, I am like an object which has been exterminated. Mizmor/lyrics to be sung/Psalm 31 verse 12. This is a powerful, indeed, stunningly accurate prophecy of what occurred. And because it did play out just this way, 150 generations of Jews squandered their souls and all manner of tragedy has befallen the chosen people for overlooking their chosen one. Specifically, this is predictive of the birth of Christianity and then Judaism. Ignorantly claiming that David was dead and buried, Peter and Paul irrationally proposed that everything said about the Messiah and Son of God must be transferred to the religion's mythical counterfeit, making the dead God on a stick a replacement for Dowd. And yet, since it was actually Dowd whom the Romans crucified as the Passover lamb, there was no reason to retell his story because it had already been copiously documented in the Nabi, Wa Mizmor. And as for the Twistians, they would wait 4 to 6 decades, after the eyewitnesses were dead, the Romans had invaded, and memories had faded, to compose their perverse narratives. And even then, the Roman Catholic Church continued to change the story to fit their agenda through the middle of the 4th century. They took a germ of truth and changed the rest. The Messiah and Son of God had come to save his people, and he was crucified and released from Sheol thereafter. But his name was Dowd, his God was Yahuwah, his people were Yisraelites, his textbook was the Torah, he honored his promises and the prophecies made of him, and he fulfilled Pesach, Matzah, and Bikurim to deliver the benefits of the original and only Berith. Can you imagine the rewrite required to weave the truth out of the philology and mythology of the Christian religion? By accepting and acknowledging what actually transpired, they would have to eliminate the Lord, Jesus, Christ, Christian, Church, Christmas, Easter, Sunday worship, the New Testament from the epistles to the Gospels, Peter, Paul, the disciples, the Baptist, the cross, all anti-Semitic and anti-Torah rhetoric, all counterfeit claims and prophetic misappropriations, vain miracles, the resurrection, and the notion of a man-God. There wouldn't be enough scripture left to line the bottom of a birdcage. Judaism is also impugned by Dowd's pronouncement. It is precisely by overlooking his significance in fulfilling Chag Matzah, and by treating the Mashiach and Pesach Isle as a pariah, that Rabbi Akiba rose to power and became the father of Judaism. He was so desperate to produce an alternative Messiah, in the process of promoting Simon Bar Kokhba, he managed to destroy Judea and cause the diaspora which led to the Holocaust. Methinks his scheme to overlook Dowd's significance backfired. As a prophet, Dowd realized that, by denying what he would accomplish, and now what he has done, the people he was trying to save would commit Roman-assisted mass suicide. They would be conspired against and terrorized by the very religious and political institutions they spawned. With the truth staring them in the face, written in their language, by their favorite son and most acclaimed leader, a prophet of the first order, they ignored it all to pursue the religion which would define and demonize them, sealing their fate. It would be the most tragic example of unrequited love man or God would ever know, and with genocidal consequences. Prophecy doesn't get any more impactful than this. Dowd fulfilled the Micra-EY, opening the door to salvation, and the world, beginning with Jews, slammed it in his face. And if that were not sufficiently ignorant, immoral, imbecilic, and immolating, they plastered over and graffitied their side of the door with slanderous defamations and demeaning conspiracy theories. Even more, I have heard, Shama, slanderous defamations and calumnious conspiracies from far too many, including the voluminous words of the rabbis, Dibarab, the serpentine rumors and whispered musings of numerous rabbis and a great many others. Unauthorized religious invaders and unwanted political immigrants, Magor, horrible and fearsome acts at the hands of those who do not belong, from questioning the consequence of Gur, quarrelsome and dreadful foreigners, come from all around and from every side, Min Sabib, as they conspire and scheme together, Ba Yasad, by constituting their planned rebellion in association with others, beginning by laying a foundation for what will be established and instituted, even ordained, Nifel. Infinitive. They are altogether united, Hem Yachad, they are similar in this regard, over and against me, Al-Eni, to seize and exert control over, Lakach, to capture and take away, my soul, Nipesh-Eni, as they determine and plot out their scheme, Zamam, as they decide their course of action, resolve to take their plan to its natural conclusion, Cal perfect third-person masculine plural. Mizmor/lyrics to be sung/Psalm 31 verse 13. Just when we thought that prophecy couldn't get any more relevant, Dowd makes it so. No one's reputation has been victimized to a greater extent than Dowd's or with such overwhelmingly negative ramifications. In all of human history, the perpetrators could not have picked a more inappropriate person to counterfeit and defame since it robbed billions of their souls. And this sad reality is the reason for the prophecy. Dowd has more credibility and character in a toenail clipping than Peter and Paul, Jesus and Christ, Akiba and Maimonides, Hashem and Adonai, Muhammad and Allah can muster combined, and yet the devil's advocates are esteemed over Dowd by 1,000,000 to 1. This dichotomy between the chosen one, who is Tzaddik right, the firstborn son of God, our Messiah and King, the shepherd and savior, and the sordid cadre of crude counterfeits and disgusting bullshitters, who defrauded him, is the dividing line separating truth and lies, right and wrong, life from death, and relationship from religion. Ultimately, even in the face of prophetic declarations such as these, there will be thousands standing with Dowd and billions standing against him. By cheating Dowd out of his God-given titles, and then by denying his fulfillment of Chag Matzah in the Yobel year of 4000 Yah, the Christian counterfeit, I sound Christian. Jesus Christ, was concocted upon a mountain of lies. And while the irrational and unfounded notion of replacement theology has long been touted in an ignorant attempt to justify substituting Christians and their church for Jews and Israel, the bigger crime was transferring Dowd's acclaim, accolades, achievements, and prophetic declarations to create the crude counterfeit, Jesus. Without this appalling act of identity theft, Christ and Christianity do not exist. And without them, Rabbi Akiba would not have foisted his own counterfeit Messiah on Jews to counteract the dunderhead religion, creating Judaism in the process. And this is what led to the destruction of Judea by Rome, to the renaming of the land of God as Palestine, to the diaspora, to being demonized by the Roman Catholic Church, to the conception of the Babylonian Talmud, to supplementing and legitimizing the Quran, and to the creation of Islam. It led to the pogroms, the Holocaust, and to the relentless flood of Muslims terrorizing, torturing, raping, abducting, and annihilating the chosen people. The linchpin upon which this history unfolds, turning decidedly darker and deadlier, deceitful and demonic, is the misappropriation of all things pertaining to Dowd, just as this prophecy portends. Dowd is accusing Jews and Gentiles of conspiring against him. The most notorious at the time of his sacrifice was a murderous rabbi, and he was responsible for writing voluminous words in opposition to Dowd. He ominously bore the same name that had haunted the Messiah previously, Shaul, known to Christians as Paul. His co-conspirators, some of whom were Greeks, assisted him as he perpetrated his fraud. Without Luke, Mark, and later in 95 CE Matthew, and without Peter being in on the act along with the unidentified impostor scribing John in the years prior to 100 CE, there would have been no New Testament or Christian religion. And without Christianity's misappropriation of the Passover lamb and denial of Dowd, there is no Rabbi Akiba to counter its influence. And since rabbis in Yathrib sold Babylonian Talmud readings to Muhammad to flesh out the Quran and give the terrorist manifesto and resulting death cult a veneer of authenticity, without them having done so, there would have been no Islam, no Dome of the Rock or Al-Aqsa Mosque to scar the Temple Mount, no massacre on October 7, 23 and no worldwide protests against Jews and Israel. There are hundreds of previously unheralded insights permeating the pages of the YAHOWAH collection, but few are as profound as these pertaining to the conception of Christianity, Judaism, and Islam, conclusions which are fleshed out and conclusively proven in the 5 volumes of Twistianity, the 3 volumes of Babel, and 5 books excoriating Islam's genesis in goddamn religion. And while I came to the same conclusion as did my king 3,000 years ago, it should now be evident that YAHOWAH concurs. The 3 so-called Abrahamic religions are cheap, paper-thin, counterfeits, each a horrid concoction of lies piled over the most sublime truth. And they each emerged from the same perverse germ, the one so eloquently articulated in this prophecy. When all of YAHOWAH's inspired condemnations of Shaul Paul are considered, there is the implication that the original and principal author of what became the Christian New Testament was complicit in getting his fellow Romans to torture Dowd rather than simply kill him. In that he was admittedly demon-possessed, as was King Shaul before him, the Benjamite wolf in sheep's clothing likely conspired with the wolf of Rome to rip the Pesach Isle to shreds and then crucify him. And after doing so, and blaming Jews for what he had done, Paul wrote the initial 14 books of the Christian Bible. Beginning with Galatians, then upping the ante with his ode to Roman authority, the self-loathing and demon-possessed rabbi went on the offensive to castrate Dowd's reputation, killing him a second time, then burying his reputation such that Jesus could be resurrected from his grave. Just as Shaul 1.0 schemed with his inner demons to murder the Messiah, so did Shaul 2.0. The irony would be evident, the story from beginning to end would be poetic, in addition to being catastrophic to Christianity, Judaism, and Islam. In this light, the religion's rape of Dowd is exposed as the greatest crime in human history, premeditated and then perpetrated by the devil's advocate. And from the poison pens of the authors of the Christian New Testament, this blend of Jews and foreigners would emerge the most anti-Israelite religion in the world, fulfilling this prophecy. But it does not end there because Shaul 3.0 will serve as the corporeal manifestation of Satan during the time of Israel's troubles, from Shabat on May 26, 2026 to the daybreak of Yom Teruah on September 24, 2033. And as his final sadistic act, Satan incarnate will torture me to death, certifying his eternal incarceration along with providing for the restoration of Yisrael, doing so through the sacrifice of the Adam Apara 10 days before YAHOWAH's arrival with his son, the Messiah, King Dowd. I have written about these things for over a decade at this point, but it bears a repeat. Had Shaul Paul not conspired with Satan to create Christianity by robbing Dowd and his people, there would have been no Rabbi Akiba, no Simon Bar Kokhba, no Roman destruction of Judea, no diaspora, and no rabbinic Judaism to counter it. Judaism emerged in the 1st and 2nd centuries CE in Jerusalem to disavow the Christian distortions of the prophets. Its advocates were not only gaining traction among Jews, Greeks, and Romans but were also demonizing Jews in the process, condemning them for scheming against and killing the new Christian God. Robbed of their Messiah and the Son of God, bereft of their covenant, and denied the fulfillment of Chag Matzah, Rabbi Akiba, the father of Judaism, plotted a misguided and catastrophic course. Rather than reclaim each by acknowledging Dowd's role in all of these things, he created a religion based upon denial. Their Mashiach remains unknown. There is no Son of God. The covenant is no longer meaningful to them. Chag Matzah was written out of their religion. The Talmud would supersede the Torah. And YAHOWAH's name was erased, then replaced with those of devilish rabbis. In that we have reached the halfway point in this magnificent prophetic portrayal of the most devastating betrayal of greatness ever perpetrated by the weasels of religion, let's reconsider Dowd's Mizmor lyrics up to this point in his impassioned story. To the enduring leader, the eternal director, LaHanatzak, a Mizmor song, Mizmor, of Dowd, La Dowd. With you, Yada Yahowah, Yahowah, I have taken refuge and found a trusted and safe place as I am comforted and sheltered, Chasa. I do not want to fail, be humiliated, or be frustrated, as I have no interest in being embarrassed or feeling remorse, Al-Baush, throughout eternity, La Aulam. With your means to vindicate those who are right about you, Ba Tzedakah Ada, you want to rescue and deliver me, giving new birth and saving through me, Palat Eni. Mizmor 31:1. You have chosen to incline your ear to me, Nada, El, Eni Ozen Ada. As quickly as possible and without hesitation, Mahira, your will is to aid my escape, delivering me to provide salvation with me, Natsal Eni. Your desire is for there to be for me, Hayala Eni, a sharp crag, Latsur, with a sound and resounding defense and fortification to prevail, Ma'aus, for the family, La Baith, to liberate and deliver me La Yasha Eni, from being preyed upon, victimized, and restricted, Matsuda. Mizmor 31:2. Surely, KY, my rocky crag, Sila Eni, will be my deliverance from being preyed upon and controlled, victimized and restricted, Wa Matsuda Eni. You, Atta, on account of, Loman, your name, Shem, Atta, lead me, transporting me to create this opportunity for me, Nacha Eni. And so, you guide and sustain me, Wanahal Eni. Mizmor 31:3. You extend yourself to withdraw me, Yatsa Eni, out of the confining restraints, Min Rishe, such as these which they have used to hide me by burying me, Zutaman La Eni. As a result, KY, you are my refuge, protecting me from on high, Adamaos Eni. Mizmor 31:4. With your hand, influence, and support, Ba Yad Ada, I pay attention to and summon, Pakad, my spirit, Rowak Eni. You have redeemed me, Pada, Eth, Yahowah, Yahowah, reliable and trustworthy God, El Emoth. Mizmor 31:5. I hate and shun, intensely dislike and disdain, and I'm overtly hostile toward, saying, those who focus upon, Hashamar, futile and worthless, false and fraudulent, Shawa, objects of worship and devotion which are a waste of breath, Hebel. And as for me, concerning, Wa, Eni, El, Yahowah, Yahowah, I trust and rely, and I confidently confide, Batach. Mizmor 31:6. I want to rejoice, having decided upon displaying a positive attitude as a result of the favorable circumstances, choosing to sing for joy, GYL, and delight in, Wasamik BA, your loyal love, enduring favoritism, and glorious benefits, your kindness, generosity, and devotion, Chisit Ada. To show the way to receive the benefits of the relationship, Asher, you revealed, Ra, that which pertains to my persecution and suffering, the effort I made and pain I will have endured, Oni Any. You have been aware, intimately familiar with, and understood, and you have known, respected, and revealed through Yada Yahowah, the anguishing distress of the adversarial confinement, the anxiety and affliction of being besieged, as well as the incarceration, Sarah, of my soul, Nepesh. Mizmor 31:7. You had not closed me in or shut me up for a prolonged period of time, isolating me, Sagar Heni, within the hand of an enemy or influence of the rancorous adversary, Ba Yad Oyeb. In a spacious expanse, Ba Ha Merchab, you will have caused my feet to stand, Amad Regal Eni. Mizmor 31:8. Your desire is to show compassion and be generous through me with unfolding implications over time, Chanan Eni, Yahowah, because it is certainly true, KY, you will have besieged and tried to confine me, restricting and troubling me for a time, Sarah Eni. The visualization, Ein, of my soul, Nepesh Eni, is being incapacitated, Ash, with the distressing taunts, annoying scorn, and angry provocations, Ba Kaaz, in addition to my hollowed body and empty corpse, Wabiten Eni. Mizmor 31:9. For indeed, KY, my lives, Che Eni, grow weary, concluding, Kala, in sorrow, Ba Yagaun, and my years, Washana Eni, with emotional anguish in disapproving expressions, Ba Anacha. They faltered due to stumbling and by having been overthrown, physically abused and brought down, Cashel, with me being associated with the consequence of the guilt, Ba A1 Eni. My strength, Coach Eni, and my substance, Wa Etzem Eni, are debilitated and incapacitated, Ash. Mizmor 31:10. As a result of, all of my adversities and adversaries, the many who are in conflict with and distressed about what I represent, Colt Sarah Eni, I have become, Haya, dishonored and devalued, Churfa. And this is especially so with my neighbors and countrymen, Wawa Shaken Eni Maudi, because I'm particularly troubling and disconcerting, Wafachet, to those who are only partially acquainted and passively familiar with me, La Yada Eni. Those who view me, Raa Eni, in this public arena, Ba Ha Chouts, cast me aside and wander away from me, Nadab Min Eni. Mizmor 31:11. My significance has been overlooked, inappropriately considered, and virtually forgotten, pushed into the background, Shakach, as if one who is dead and no longer living, Kamwuth. From this perspective and perception, Min Leb, I am akin to a lost utensil or squandered implement which has perished and vanished, Hayaka Kali Abad. Mizmor 31:12. Even more, KY, I have heard, Shama, slanderous defamations and calumnious conspiracies from far too many, including the voluminous serpentine rumors of the rabbis, and a great many others, Dibarab. Unauthorized religious invaders and unwanted political immigrants committing horrible acts, these dreadful and antagonistic foreigners, Magor, come from all around and from every side, Min Sabib, as they conspire and scheme in their rebellion together, Ba Yasad. They are altogether united, Hem Yachad, over and against me, Al Eni, to seize and exert control over, Lakach, my soul, Nepesh Eni, as they determine and plot out their scheme, Zamam. Mizmor 31:13. And that is why the planet is in such a horrible state of decay and careening down around us in a medley of death and destruction. Yahowah. As for Dowd, he knew what he was doing, why he was doing it, and who was enabling him. His response and subsequent declaration put him in opposition to the religions which seek to degrade and replace him. And as for me, Wa Eni, upon you, Al Ada Yahowah, Yahowah, I trust and rely, Batach, I am confident and assured, Cal perfect first person singular. I say, Amar, you are my God, Elohim Eni Ada. Mizmor/lyrics to be sung Psalm 31 verse 14. This is the answer. By stating it so coherently in contrast to the religious opposition to him, Dowd reaffirms his role as our exemplar. It was not until quite recently, and only as a result of the Yahowah collection, including an introduction to God, Yada Yahowah, observations, and coming home, that Yehudim Jews are finally following Dowd's example and proclaiming Yahowah's name in recognition that he is our God. Apart from those who have become covenant based upon what they have recently read, there still isn't a Jew on the planet who will say what Dowd confessed. And without this simple and direct refutation of Christianity and Judaism, and acceptance of the Torah and prophets, there is no hope of salvation for God's people. In your hand and guided by your influence, Ba Yad Ada, are the times for me, my calendar of events which I will fulfill on the proper occasion, F Eni, is my calendar determining my fate over the seasons. You have decided to deliver me, Nat Sal Eni, your will and desire are to rescue, spare, and save me, liberating me, hyphal imperative second person masculine singular, from being controlled by my adversaries, Min Yad Oyeb Eni, and from my persecutors who are hounding me, Wa Min Radaf Eni, pursuing and dogging me to harass me. Mizmor/lyrics to be sung Psalm 31 verse 15. The Messiah Dowd, as the author of this prophecy, is one of only 3 men who could speak of their calendar of events being fulfilled on multiple occasions and more than one life measured by time. The other 2 are witnesses heralding his achievements during Chag Matzah and his return on Yom Kippurim. They are Elia and Yada. As we have learned, the Messiah's calendar and Yahowah's are juxtaposed, coterminous, and inseparable. Just as Moses delivered the Torah, Dowd delivered the Mikri Y. Moses explained the Moedim and Dowd lived them. As he foretold through Daniel under the moniker Gabriel, God's most capable and courageous man, the Messiah arrived to fulfill Pesach, Matzah, and Bikurim during the Yobel year of 4000 Yah in 33 CE. As a result, he made the Shabuah and Teruah ingatherings possible. And he is returning on Kippurim in year 6000 Yah/2033 CE to anoint the mercy seat of the Ark of the Covenant and reconcile his people with his God. And, of course, Dowd is the king of Sukkah, guiding us through the garden and beyond. Dowd's admission that he is led by Yahuwah through the implementation of his calendar is so compelling and obvious, it's a wonder it has gone unrecognized through millennia. And, of course, the highlight of the process will be when Yahuwah delivers his son from those denigrating his reputation, making them a footstool for his feet. In this next declarative statement, we are once again embraced by intertwined volitional moods, with the fathers expressed in the imperative and the sons in the cohortative. It is your will and my overwhelming desire for you to emphatically shine the light of your presence, or Pana, Ada, our collective choice is for your appearance to illuminate, hyphal imperative cohortative second-person masculine singular paragogic he energic, upon your coworker and associate, al-ebed, Ada, upon your partner and servant. Your will for my life is to deliver me to save through me, Yasha, Eni, you have chosen to rescue and liberate through me, making me victorious, hyphal imperative second-person masculine singular, with your great devotion and love and through your enduring favoritism and loyalty, ba chisit Ada, in your kindness, generosity, and compassion. Mizmor/lyrics to be sung/Psalm 31 verse 16. The illumination of Yahuwah's nature is conveyed in several ways. He revealed himself to the children of Yisrael during their journey from religious and political oppression to the promised land through a display of radiant energy, using flames of fire. He is visible to us today through the enlightenment of his word. God's brilliance is also provided through the Ruach Kodesh set-apart spirit. And Yah will return as glowing light, with his son as brilliant as the sun in his presence. But unlike his fellow Yisraelites, rather than dispatching Yahuwah's light and sending him away, Dowd is inviting and encouraging God's radiant presence to shine upon him. Because Yah is fair, both parties received what they requested. Yahuwah has devised, articulated, and enabled a way to save us from ourselves, a lone path away from religion to our redemption. Moses illuminated this path, and Dowd blazed a trail through it for us to follow, beginning by opening the door to life. The details are often important, as is the case here with Yasha, to deliver and save scribed in the hyphal stem and imperative mood. This means that not only was it God's intent to deploy Dowd in this manner to save us, but also that Yahuwah nuanced this outcome by working through his son as if the Messiah was his counterpart and understudy. Further, Yahuwah delivered Dowd to serve in this manner, and then facilitated our salvation through him as a collaborative effort, because he favors his people and loves his family. As a result of what we have learned, we know that Dowd reemerges into his father's light during Bikurim when he is released from Sheol to become the firstborn son. He emerged from the darkness into the light of Yahuwah's radiant presence, which may be what he is addressing here. And by doing so, the son is affirming that this is a collaborative effort with his father. Considering all they would achieve, and the magnitude of Dowd's sacrifice, and the great benefits they would be delivering, it is appropriate for him to say, Yahuwah, Yahowah, I do not want to be wrongly characterized or be frustrated and humiliated, al-Baush, because of what I've read and recited about you, proclaimed and announced regarding your Mikri, or offered as my invitations to be welcomed by you, ky kara, ada, for having served to enable your Mikri, kal perfect first-person singular. The criminals who must be condemned, Rasha, those guilty of being wickedly vexing, those who have chosen to be wrong and act shamefully, Baush, those who consistently embarrass whose decision is to be shameful, kal imperfect jussive third-person masculine plural, will be silenced, and as a result of their choices, they will be incapacitated, damnum, they will be quieted and will cease such activity, languishing due to their decisions, kal imperfect jussive third-person masculine plural. With regard to Shayol Paul and unto Sheol hell, la Sheol, the place of eternal separation and the name of the plague of death. Mizmor/lyrics to be sung/Psalm 31 verse 17. There are few things more enabling or beneficial than properly characterizing what King Dowd achieved during Chag Matzah and will accomplish on Kippurim leading to Sukkah. And this is largely because the Messiah Kara fulfilled the Mikri, reading and reciting, proclaiming and announcing them, summoning and inviting us to them. He didn't just endure them, he spent much of his first life writing about them. By contrast, the single most aggravating thing a person can do, the one thing sure to engender God's revulsion, is to mischaracterize the accolades and achievements of his son and, like unto it, to misappropriate the prophecies spoken about him. And the grand prize for provoking Yah to rage would be to negate what Dowd achieved during the fulfillment of the Mikri, which is the bane of Christianity and Judaism. With so much at stake and the very souls of his people hanging in the balance, it is little wonder that Dowd wanted to have anyone who precluded Yisraelites from benefiting from his sacrifice condemned. Those who had sought to frustrate his purpose will be silenced and incapacitated. Having been there, having experienced hell in a very personal way, Dowd would not have been flippant in sending someone to Sheol. If he foretold this fate for them, they would have deserved it. And that causes us to confront the possibilities, the names of those whom Dowd would have considered so detrimental to what he would achieve for his people that they were deserving of eternal damnation. This list, while long, is shortened considerably when we zero in on Dowd's calendar, on the fulfillment and aftermath of Chag Matzah. And in this regard, 3 names rise above all others, one of which he listed. Shayol Paul not only created the world's most anti-Semitic cult through Christianity, he did so by deliberately contradicting Dowd, not only disparaging him but actually denying him credit for saving his people. And he created the caricature of Jesus Christ to replace him. In the annals of human history, no one is more deserving of Sheol than the man who bears its name, Shayol. Do not think for a moment that these names are interchangeable perchance, that the mention of the man and his realm at this point in the narration was just a coincidence, or that Dowd does not despise Paul above all others. We know this to be true because he and his father are of like mind, and Yahuwah devoted the book of Habakkuk to condemning Shayol/Paul by name, calling him the plague of death. Also, be aware that Dowd is telling us that Shayol deserves his fate, as do his accomplices, including Shimon/Peter and Rabbi Akiba. Collectively, the Nifal stem affirms that they will reap what they have sown. They will be silenced in Sheol because of what they elected to say on earth. The lying lips and false speech, Safa Sheker, the deceptive and misleading, the fraudulent and vain language, will be muted as a result of their incapacitating words as they are silenced because of what they have spoken, Olam Hadaber. They will be bound due to their verbal and written proclamations, Nifal imperfect Jusif third person plural, improperly, irrationally, immorally, and insolently, attack, arrogantly and stubbornly, self-motivated and self-willed while claiming to be superior to others, with conceitful agitation and undue status, Yahowah, while claiming to be eminent and magnificent, and disrespectful contempt, derisive and dismissive, buzz, and in a disdainful manner, in opposition to the righteous one, Tzaddik, against the one who is correct, vindicating, and acquitting, the one who is right. Mizmor/lyrics to be sung Psalm 31 verse 18. In this pronouncement, the Messiah is doubling down on his previous statement. Those he is accusing of lying are doing so about him. They have deliberately and knowingly misled so many souls that they have earned their condemnation in Sheol. These individuals are insolent and irrational, claiming for themselves an undue status in the process of being dismissive and disrespectful toward the Messiah and Son of God. Therefore, anyone who has played a role in robbing Dowd of his titles and accomplishments to promote the false messiahs of Christianity and Judaism has a confirmed reservation in hell. Turns out, the perceived saints are sinners, and the religions they concocted lead away from heaven and directly to hell. While each had accomplices, there are but 3 men who fully embody Dowd's condemnation, all Jews, 2 rabbis, each venerated, and all 3 of whom authored the scriptures of their respective religions. They are known today as the disciple Peter, the apostle Paul, and Rabbi Akiva. And at the conclusion of this chapter, I will present the statements each is attributed to saying, which caused Dowd to condemn them to hell. Beyond the realization that Sheol is going to be a very religious place, it will be exceedingly egotistical, too. But you will also note that these belligerents will have earned their incarceration by being derisive and dismissive regarding the Messiah and Son of God, and being seen in opposition to him. So, as it would transpire, the one who vindicates will also condemn. When we read through the Nabi Wa Mizmor, there is no question that one man is called Tzaddik right more than everyone else combined. And the one affording Dowd this acclaim is none other than Yahowah. By being correct in his understanding of what Yahowah is offering and then by acting upon what he is expecting in return, the Messiah showed us the correct way to God. But please be aware, by referring to himself as the Tzaddik in this context, Dowd is acknowledging that, while he is the savior for some, he will sit in judgment of others. It is the king's prerogative, and he intends to execute it. Dowd has made a pertinent distinction within this Mizmor. He loves Yahowah and is disgusted by those who prefer false gods, counterfeits, delusions, and religious worship. By being right with God and correct in his pronouncements, he became Yah's most beloved. By contrast, those whose speech has been misleading and incapacitating regarding what he has achieved will be sent to hell and will wither away over a prolonged period. So, while garnering the righteous indignation of the Messiah, King, and Son of God as a consequence of being religious is a poor life choice, promoting a religion that misconstrues and misappropriates Dowd's role in his people's salvation results in a far worse penalty. Better than lying or dying. How abundant and great, Marab, how extensive and remarkable, are your attractive and beneficial qualities, Tub, Ada, your goodness and fairness, which, to show the way to receive the benefits of the relationship, Asher, you have stored up in a concealed place, Sophan, you have, for the moment, kept mostly hidden with your treasure unknown, Cal perfect second person masculine singular. You perform to prepare this, Pa'al, you act to ready and bestow this, Cal perfect second person masculine singular, for those who respect you, La Yar, Ada, for the approach of the respectful toward you, for those who seek protection and comfort with you, Hachasa Ba, Ada, for those who take refuge in you, finding safety and shelter with you, Cal participle, in a straightforward manner in full view, Neged, openly and conspicuously through a counterpart, of the descendants of Adam. Ben Adam, of the children of humankind. Mizmor/lyrics to be sung Psalm 31 verse 19. Continuing to challenge our thinking such that we deploy our neshama conscience and demonstrate the capacity to understand, Dowd shares another profound irony. First, he tells us that he is dispatching the founders of Judaism and Christianity to hell. Then he reveals that Yahowah did everything necessary to bestow the benefits of the covenant upon those who seek, respect, and trust him, doing so openly for all to see. And yet, the work he has performed has remained hidden from almost everyone. Through his prophets, especially Dowd and Yashaya, Yahowah revealed when, where, why, how, and through whom he would act to bestow the benefits of the covenant to his people. We are reading what he inspired them to write in this regard. Therefore, God presented what he would do by working with his counterpart in a straightforward and conspicuous manner. And while there was nothing hidden about their fulfillment, as these events played out in the most contested place on earth, the religious liars have so misled the preponderance of people that most everyone is blind to what was foretold and then occurred in plain sight. You are actively concealing these things, Satharhem, you are veiling them such that they are not widely known, hyphal imperfect second person masculine singular, within the secreting of your presence, Ba Seder Pana Ada, in the cover of the hidden place of your appearance, from the conspiracies and harmful plots, Min rocks, away from the binding and controlling schemes, of men, Aish, of humankind. You impeded access to what is treasured and cherished by storing these things up in a place which is hidden, Sophanhem, you conceal them, Kal imperfect, within Sukkah shelters, Ba Sukkah, inside the dwelling place, particularly the canopy covering the tabernacle of booths, away from contentious tongues, quarrelsome speech, and hostile language, Min Ryb Lashon, from the insulting words of the opposition. Mizmor/lyrics to be sung Psalm 31 verse 20. Brilliant. Yahowah is concealing what he and Dowd would accomplish for the benefit of the covenant family in the place the religious are least likely to look, in Yahowah's presence. Even better, the most valuable treasure in the universe is hidden at the conclusion of the least traveled path, concealed after Pesach, Matzah, Bikurim, Shabuah, Towrah, and Kippurim, which leads those in the know to Sukkah. So, to find it, one has to recognize who Yahowah is and how to approach him, and then appreciate where the path through the YYV leads. What's particularly interesting here is that, prior to the Yahowah collection, there wasn't anyone who knew Yahowah's name and also understood that the means to receive the benefits of the covenant, and the way to God's home, were provided through the Moedim, restoring witnesses to the eternal testimony, culminating with Sukkah. Further, I became the first to acknowledge the role Dowd and his Mizmor/Psalms play in communicating and fulfilling the YYV invitations to be called out and meet with God. I was also responsible for explaining how mankind's journey from the garden and back to Eden on shelters in the Babel year of 2033 CE would play out over the intervening 6,000 years. As such, it is readily apparent that I have been commissioned by the Almighty and His Righteous One to unveil what they have done so that their people can capitalize from it before they return. And should you think I am tooting my own shofar and claiming too much credit, I beg to differ. There are 1,000 previously unseen insights debuted in these books, from interesting to phenomenal. After more than 2,000 years of billions of people not figuring any of this out and it all remaining hidden, everything of consequence was suddenly revealed in one place, by one person, in just over 20 years. So, something amazing has occurred. And the only rational explanation from concealed to revealed is that this is what Yahowah wanted at this time for the benefit of his son and Yisrael. Since God has admittedly done so, should you wonder why Yahowah would conceal the path to him for millennia, Dowd has answered that question. God has impeded access into his presence and to what he treasures expressly to keep the conspirators from misappropriating them. Recognizing that Christianity and Judaism are both conspiracies to mislead by misconstruing selected information, God does not want such contentious and insulting individuals speaking about him or his means to reconciliation, as they would sully both. If Jews want to talk of Hashem and of their GD apart from Chag Matzah, such as during Purim, Rosh Hashanah, and Hanukkah, they are only fooling themselves. And if Christians want to promote Jesus Christ on Sundays and while celebrating Christmas and Easter, they are in their own mythical world and, thus, not explicitly corrupting anything Yahowah or his son value. With all of the errant claims and false projections, if either Judaism or Christianity used Yahowah's name, explored the merits of the YYV, or delineated Dowd's roles within them, the perpetrators would find endless avenues to pervert and corrupt the truth, which would be far worse than being oblivious to it. For the sake of his people, especially now at the cusp of his return, Yahowah could not allow that to occur. Dowd understood, but it would be a long time before anyone other than the prophets acknowledged the same reality. The biggest secret is the best one of all. And that is why the first series on the shelf of the Yahowah collection at YAHOWAH.com is an introduction to God. I began by saying that I would be taking you to a place fewer than 1 in a million have gone, which is to meet God. His words have led us there. Appreciated, commended, and extolled, Barak, lovingly upheld, favored, thanked, and blessed, is Yahowah, Yahowah, God's name transliterated as directed by his Torah, instructions on his Hayah, existence and his role in our Shalom, reconciliation, because, KY, he has demonstrated his loyal love and unfailing kindness, Chisidhu, he has offered steadfast devotion and unwavering favoritism and generosity, to me, La Eni, in the city besieged by religious persecution and political oppression, Ba, Yir Matzor, within an anguishing place of military confinement, from Tsur, surrounded and hemmed in by a hostile adversary. Mizmor/lyrics to be sung/Psalm 31 verse 21. Yahowah deserves our appreciation. He is to be commended for what he has done for the covenant family and his people. He tangibly demonstrated his unwavering devotion to Dowd, recognizing that we would and should expect the same. Obviously, we have not contributed nearly as much, but God is tremendously generous. When Jerusalem served as the city of Dowd, there was no religious persecution nor was there a siege. Both would occur, but hundreds to 1,000 years later. Therefore, this statement is prophetic of his second life when he came to fulfill Pesach and Matzah. At that time, the oppressors were world-renowned for their subjugation and tyranny. So, as Dowd entered his city, knowing the fate which lay before him, he was naturally anxious. It would be a miserable time. And knowing that his son would suffer was surely more than Yahowah could bear. So naturally, he looked away. And since he would not be listening in, the voice he heard was not that of his son. The Ruach spirit was advocating for him. I, myself, had said, Wa Eni Amar, then I confessed, Cal perfect first person singular, anxiously in my anticipation and dismay, Ba chap has any, I am distanced, Geraz, from being directly within your sight, Min neged I and Ada, away from being right in front of your field of vision, nonetheless, Achan, you heard a voice requesting additional consideration and favoritism from me. Shama Kaul Takanin Eni, when pleading to you for me, Ba Shawa Eni El Ada, when requesting support. For me, Mizmor/lyrics to be sung/Psalm 31 verse 22. She would, of course, prevail. Dowd would be rescued. The first family would be together again. Such is the purpose of Bikurim. And it makes Shabuah and Towrah possible. Now that his story is told, Dowd has some advice for those who have listened to his song. Of your own volition, choose to love, Ahab, F, you should want to demonstrate your affection for, Cal imperative, Yahowah, Yahowah, God's one and only name pronounced as guided by his Torah, instructions on his Hayah, existence for our Shalom, reconciliation as our, Eloah, God, all who are devoted to him, Kol Chasidhu, everyone who is godly and zealous in their love for him. The dependable, trustworthy, and reliable, immune, those who can be trusted, Yahowah, Yahowah protects, he delivers from harm's way, saves, and preserves, Natsar, he supports and maintains, Cal participle. And he repays in abundance, completely compensating, wa shalom, he furnishes overwhelming restitution and recompense to, the most preeminent and outstanding on behalf of the remnant, al-Yether, upon the most upstanding and foremost toward those who remain, for those who engage and act, asa, by rising up gloriously and triumphantly, YAHOWAH, by promoting growth, standing up marvelously by being willing to roar and agitate, rising out of the swelling sea. Mizmor/lyrics to be sung/Psalm 31 verse 23. No surprise that Dowd the Beloved is encouraging us to love Yah. And, obviously, one of the ways we can demonstrate our devotion is to be dependable and trustworthy when called to action. What follows this admonition, however, is not widely known. YAHOWAH has the propensity to overcompensate those who work with him and for his people. And the more upstanding and outstanding they are, the more lavish the rewards, especially now when he wants to reach the returning remnant of Israel. Therefore, while it is never the intent of Yah's co-workers to be compensated, it is nice to know that our Father appreciates it when we roar, rising up gloriously and triumphantly. We ought not be shy or in any way reserved but, instead, act like we are representing the supreme being in the universe. Also interesting is that the next time YAHOWAH will intervene to deliver his children from harm's way will be at the onset of the time of Israel's troubles during the Shabuah harvest of standing grain. It is the first of two ingatherings orchestrated by the one who has actively engaged with him to make the Katzar as fruitful as possible. Then, just 7 years later, on Towrah, there will be another stream of saved souls headed heavenward. And as the Shabat dawns the following day, as part of YAHOWAH's plan, the Adam Apera will gloriously offer his life so that the remnant of Yisrael might celebrate the triumphant return of the Messiah and his father. Since Dowd wants his people prepared for his arrival with YAHOWAH on Yom Kippurim in year 6000 Yah/sunset in Jerusalem, 6:22 p.m., October 2, 2033, he is recommending that we act boldly and courageously. You should choose to be firm and resolved, aggressive and overpowering, Chazak, choose to be intense, tough, and victorious, Kal imperative, growing ever stronger, more courageous, and determined, Wa Emetz, being persistent while allowing yourself to be reinforced and supported while remaining brave, in your thinking and judgment, Lebub Adam, in your heart, conscience, and inner core, all who wait confidently and expectantly, Kol HaYakal, everyone who trusts, for YAHOWAH, La Yahowah. God's proper designation pronounced as instructed by his Torah, guidance on his Hayah, existence and his role in our Shalom, reconciliation as our Eloah, God. Mizmor/lyrics to be sung/Psalm 31 verse 24. This is the antithesis of the meek inheriting the earth. The man who knew God better than any other, his son, said that it would be best if we are aggressive, forceful, and bold. Even more, we will please our Heavenly Father when we are courageous and determined. Life is better that way. We were right about this Mizmor/Psalm. From beginning to end, it was focused on the tumultuous experience of fulfilling Chag Matzah and how doing so would open the door to make the fulfillment of Shabuah, Towrah, and Kippurim possible so that we could sukkah together. Although this time, Dowd took his case one step further by denouncing his fellow countrymen, liars like Paul, Peter, and Akiba, all for their complicity in the crime of the millennia, denigrating what he had achieved. And in the end, he provided a worthy salutation. Along the way, we were regaled by some of the most intriguing insights we have encountered thus far. To nourish our minds and souls, here is the remarkable 31st Mizmor again for the edification of the chosen people. To the enduring leader, the eternal director, La Hanatzak, a Mizmor song, Mizmor, of Dowd, La Dowd. With you, Yada Yahowah, YAHOWAH, I have taken refuge and found a trusted and safe place as I am comforted and sheltered, Chasa. I do not want to fail, be humiliated, or be frustrated, as I have no interest in being embarrassed or feeling remorse, Al-Baush, throughout eternity, La Aulam. With your means to vindicate those who are right about you, Tzedakah Ada, you want to rescue and deliver me, giving new birth and saving through me, Palat Eni. Mizmor 31:1. You have chosen to incline your ear to me, Nada, El, Eni Ozen Ada. As quickly as possible and without hesitation, Mahira, your will is to aid my escape, delivering me to deliver salvation with me, Natsal Eni. Your desire is for there to be for me, Hayala Eni, a sharp crag, Latsur, with a sound and resounding defense and fortification to prevail, Ma'aus, for the family, La Baith, to liberate and deliver me La Yasha Eni, from being preyed upon, victimized, and restricted, Matsuda. Mizmor 31:2. Surely, KY, my rocky crag, Sila Eni, will be my deliverance from being preyed upon and controlled, victimized and restricted, Wa Matsuda Eni. You, Atta, on account of, Loman, your name, Shem, Atta, lead me, transporting me to create this opportunity for me, Nacha Eni. And so, you guide and sustain me, Wa Nahal Eni. Mizmor 31:3. You extend yourself to withdraw me, Yatsa Eni, out of the confining restraints, Min Rishe, such as these which they have used to hide me by burying me, Zutaman La Eni. As a result, KY, you are my refuge, protecting me from on high, Adamaos Eni. Mizmor 31:4. With your hand, influence, and support, Yad Ada, I pay attention to and summon, Pakad, my spirit, Rawak Eni. You have redeemed me, Pada, Eth, YAHOWAH, YAHOWAH, reliable and trustworthy God, El Emeth. Mizmor 31:5. I hate and shun, intensely dislike and disdain, and I'm overtly hostile toward, sane, those who focus upon, Hashamar, futile and worthless, false and fraudulent, Shawa, objects of worship and devotion which are a waste of breath, Hebel. And as for me, concerning, Wa, Eni, El, YAHOWAH, YAHOWAH, I trust and rely, and I confidently confide, Batach. Mizmor 31:6. I want to rejoice, having decided upon displaying a positive attitude as a result of the favorable circumstances, choosing to sing for joy, GYL, and delight in, Wasamik BA, your loyal love, enduring favoritism, and glorious benefits, your kindness, generosity, and devotion, Chisit Ada. To show the way to receive the benefits of the relationship, Asher, you revealed, Ra, that which pertains to my persecution and suffering, the effort I made and pain I will have endured, Oni Any. You have been aware, intimately familiar with, and understood, and you have known, respected, and revealed through Yada Yahowah, the anguishing distress of the adversarial confinement, the anxiety and affliction of being besieged, as well as the incarceration, Sarah, of my soul, Nepesh. Mizmor 31:7. You had not closed me in or shut me up for a prolonged period of time, isolating me, Sagar Heni, within the hand of an enemy or influence of the rancorous adversary, Ba Yahowah. In a spacious expanse, Ba Ha you will have caused my feet to stand, Amad Regal Eni. Mizmor 31:8. Your desire is to show compassion and be generous through me with unfolding implications over time, Chanan Eni, Yahowah, because it is certainly true, KY, he will have besieged and tried to confine me, restricting and troubling me for a time, Sarah Eni. The visualization, Ein, of my soul, Nepesh Eni, is being incapacitated, Ash, with the distressing taunts, annoying scorn, and angry provocations, Ba Kaaz, in addition to my hollowed body and empty corpse, Wabiten Eni. Mizmor 31:9. For indeed, KY, my lives, Che Eni, grow weary, concluding, Kala, in sorrow, Ba Yagaun, and my years, Washana Eni, with emotional anguish in disapproving expressions, Ba Anacha. They falter due to stumbling and by having been overthrown, physically abused and brought down, Cashel, with me being associated with the consequence of the guilt, Ba A1 Eni. My strength, Coach Eni, and my substance, Wa Etzem Eni, are debilitated and incapacitated, Ash. Mizmor 31:10. As a result of, all of my adversities and adversaries, the many who are in conflict with and distressed about what I represent, Colt Sarah Eni, I have become, Haya, dishonored and devalued, Churfa. And this is especially so with my neighbors and countrymen, Wawa Shaken Eni Maudi, because I'm particularly troubling and disconcerting, Wafachet, to those who are only partially acquainted and passively familiar with me, Yada Eni. Those who view me, Raa Eni, in this public arena, Ba Ha Chouts, cast me aside and wander away from me, Nadad Min Eni. Mizmor 31:11. My significance has been overlooked, inappropriately considered, and virtually forgotten, pushed into the background, Shakach, as if one that is dead and no longer living, Kamuth. From this perspective and perception, Min Leb, I am akin to a lost utensil or squandered implement which has perished and vanished, Hayaka Kali Abad. Mizmor 31:12. Even more, KY, I have heard, Shama, slanderous defamations and calumnious conspiracies from far too many, including the voluminous serpentine rumors of the rabbis, and a great many others, Dibarab. Unauthorized religious invaders and unwanted political immigrants committing horrible acts, these dreadful and antagonistic foreigners, Magor, come from all around and from every side, Min Sabib, as they conspire and scheme in their rebellion together, Ba Yasad. They are altogether united, Hem Yachad, over and against me, Al Eni, to seize and exert control over, Lakach, my soul, Nepesh Eni, as they determine and plot out their scheme, Zamam. Mizmor 31:13. And as for me, Wa Eni, upon you, Al Ada, Yahowah, I trust and rely, Batach. I say, Amar, you are my God, Elohim Eni Ada. Mizmor 31:14. In your hand and guided by your influence, Ba Yad Ada, are the times for me, my calendar of events which I will fulfill on the proper occasion, Eth Eni. You have decided to deliver me, Natsal Eni, from being controlled by my adversaries, Min Yad Oyeb Eni, and from my persecutors who are hounding me, Wa Min Radaf Eni. Mizmor 31:15. It is your will and my overwhelming desire for you to emphatically shine the light of your presence, or Pana Ada, upon your co-worker and associate, Al Ebed Ada. Your will for my life is to deliver me to save through me, Yasha Eni, with your great devotion and love and through your enduring favoritism and loyalty, Ba Chisit Ada. Mizmor 31:16. Yahowah, I do not want to be wrongly characterized or be frustrated and humiliated, Al Bausch, because of what I've read and recited about you, proclaimed and announced regarding you, or offered as my invitations to be welcomed by you while fulfilling your Mikri KY Kara, Ada. The criminals who must be condemned, Rasha, those who have chosen to be wrong and act shamefully, Bausch, will be silenced, and as a result of their choices, they will be incapacitated for their decisions, Damam, with regard to Shaul Paul and unto Shiaul Hel, La Shiaul. Mizmor 31:17. The lying lips and false speech, Safa Sheker, will be muted as a result of their incapacitating words as they are silenced because of what they have spoken, Alam Hadaber, improperly, irrationally, immorally, and insolently, attack, with conceitful agitation and undue status, Bajawa, and disrespectful contempt, being derisive and dismissive, Wabuz, in opposition to the one who is right, the one who vindicates and acquits, Al Tzadik. Mizmor 31:18. How abundant and great, extensive and remarkable, Marab, are your attractive and beneficial qualities, your goodness and fairness, Tub Ada, which, to show the way to receive the benefits of the relationship, Asher, you have stored up in a concealed place and have kept hidden for a while, Soften. You perform to prepare this, Pa'al, for those who respect you, Yar Ada, for those who seek protection and comfort with you, Hachasa Ba Ada, in a straightforward manner in full view, Neged, of the descendants of Adam, Ben Adam. Mizmor 31:19. You are actively concealing these things, veiling them such that they are not known, Sathar Hem, within the secreting of your presence, Ba Sether Pana Ada, from the conspiracies and harmful plots, Min Rocks, of men, Aish. You impeded access to what is treasured and cherished by storing these things up in a place which is hidden, Soften Hem, within Sukkah shelters, Ba Sukkah, away from contentious tongues, quarrelsome speech, and hostile language of insulting declarations, Min Ryb Lashon. Mizmor 31:20. Appreciated, commended, and extolled, Barak, is Yahowah, Yahowah, because, KY, he has demonstrated his loyal love and unfailing kindness, his steadfast devotion and unwavering favoritism, Chisidhu, to me, La, any, in the city besieged by religious persecution and political oppression, Ba, Yer Matzor. Mizmor 31:21. I, myself, said, Wa, any, Amar, anxiously in my anticipation and dismay, Ba chap has any, I am distanced, Geraz, from being directly within your sight, Min neged, Ayin, Ada, nonetheless, Akin, you heard a voice requesting additional consideration and favoritism for me, Shama Kaul Takanin any, when pleading to you for me, Ba Shawa, any, El, Ada, dot. Mizmor 31:22. Of your own volition, choose to love, Ahab, Yahowah, Yahowah, all who are devoted to him, Kol Chasidhu. The dependable, trustworthy, and reliable, Immune, Yahowah, Yahowah protects, he delivers from harm's way, saves, and preserves, Natsar. And he repays in abundance, completely compensating, Wa Shalom, the most preeminent and outstanding on behalf of the remnant, Al Yether, the one who engages and acts, Asa, by rising up gloriously and triumphantly, promoting growth while agitating others, Yahowah. Mizmor 31:23. You should choose to be firm and resolved, aggressive and overpowering, tough and intense, Chazak, growing ever stronger, more courageous, and determined, Wa Amitz, in your thinking and judgment, Lebab Adam, all who wait confidently and expectantly, Kol Hayakal, for Yahowah, La Yahowah. Mizmor/lyrics to be sung/Psalm 31 verse 24. It is a feast for the heart, soul, and mind. Yod Hey Wah Hey.